Hi, it's Laurel, and I'm here with a card today inspired by the Ellen Hudson Pin Sites Challenge. If you're not familiar, Ellen Hudson hosts 2 challenges a month, and this is the Pin Sites Challenge, which is the second challenge of each month, and it's based off of a Pinterest-inspired photo, and this is the photo for the challenge. I just love the colors and the textures and all the patterns, and this is the card that I made inspired by that photo. I'm using this stamp set by Ellen Hudson, Bold Blooms, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now, this video is a little bit edited because I'm actually making this card while my daughter is in the room, so I kind of had to do a little bit of creative editing here, so I'm sorry about that. That is a piece of watercolor cardstock that I die cut with the Lawn Fawn Stitch Journaling die set, and I've gone ahead and taken the Oh Happy Day, and I'm going to stamp that right in the center of that journaling die cut there. Now I'm using the Misty, which I love, and I'm going to be doing some heat embossing. I'm going to do it twice, so I love having the Misty because it's going to ensure me perfect placement both times. So this is some black sparkle embossing powder. It has a teeny tiny bit of glitter in it, so I went ahead and stamped it with some Versamark, sprinkled on that embossing powder, and then heat set it. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing again. I'm going to kind of put that journaling card die cut right down there in the corner. Then I'm going to ink up my stamp with that Versamark ink and stamp it. Because I haven't moved the stamp off of the, I call it the door. I've heard it referred to as the door, the little acrylic block hinge thing. It just stuck with me. Because I haven't moved the stamp and because I always put my paper flush down in there in that corner, I'm going to get perfect placement every time. So I just did that embossing twice just to get a little bit more dimension and shine from my word there, since that's like the focal point of this little die cut piece here. Now that is the solid flower image from that Bold Bloom stamp set, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of stamping and watercoloring. So that is some distress ink in the color Picked Raspberry. So I'm inking up my stamp, I am spritzing the stamp with some water, and then I'm just stamping, and that gives it that beautiful, beautiful watercolored look, which I love. I'm pulling in a little bit of abandoned coral right now, so you see me give it a nice little spritz, just to kind of get a little two-tone look here. Then I'm going to go in with just the abandoned coral, and I'm going to stamp it or ink it up, spray it with water, and stamp it until I get the look that I want. I'm pulling in that abandoned coral because that's a perfect coral color that's also in that inspirational piece there. So I'm taking my heat tool and I'm giving it a little dry so I can go ahead and move on to the next step. You can also use your heat tool to move the water around if you wanted to. So this is a piece that I've cut to 4.5 by 4.5. It's just the same kind of watercolor cardstock that I used for my die cut over there. And I'm going to pull in some green that's from that inspirational piece. So I've got some mowed lawn and cracked pistachio distress ink that I've smushed down onto my craft mat. If you don't have a craft mat, you can use an acrylic block or a plastic plate or anything that's kind of slick, and spritzed it with water, and I am just basically dumping, smushing, whatever you want to call it, my die cut into those pieces. Blending the colors together, just really, I keep flipping it over until I'm satisfied with how it looks. You can try this with other kind of inks. I just find that distress inks work the best for this. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my heat gun so I can dry this piece, and then I'm going to go in and add a little bit more ink. I didn't get enough of the difference of the colors in there, so I'm going to go in and blend in some of that mowed lawn around the edges of my piece here. Again, this is 4.5 by 4.5, and then I'm going to pull back in some of that cracked pistachio to the center. And then as a finishing touch for this piece, I'm going to grab some water, spray it onto my fingers, and then I'm just going to flick it onto the base there. So this is regular water. You could also do it with like a Perfect Pearls mist if you want a little bit of shine and sparkle back in there. And because this is distress inks, it's going to react with that water and create this beautiful, beautiful water splotches in the background. So I'm going to get ready to set that aside to dry. I always clean as I go, because if I don't, I get ink all over my fingers, I get ink all over the back of my card pieces, and it just drives me bonkers. So as you can see, as I'm dabbing some of that water away, you can see the water splotches that you got from flicking on that water because it's distress inks. So I'm taking these little circles. These are probably seeds for the flowers, but I'm going to use them as polka dots because there were polka dots in that inspirational piece. I'll show you that piece again at the end of the video. So I'm going to take that, and this is some charcoal shadow ink because there was some gray in that inspirational piece as well. And I'm going to make my own little polka dots using these little seeds from that same stamp set. I love a stamp set where you can create a card with all of the images from that one set. It's great to tap into different stamp sets that you have and kind of blend them all together, but I also love when you can create something with just that one stamp set as well. So I've gone ahead, I'm not focusing on the center because that's going to be covered up with our card panel, but I'm just making sure that I got a lot of dots all around. Here and there. I'm going on the page, off the page, and trying not to get ink on the back of my card. So that's why I'm going to clean as I go. So now I'm kind of like eyeballing in. I've got my inspiration piece off to my iPad over to the left that I keep referring to. And I'm just trying to figure out if there's any other colors or patterns or anything that I want to bring in to this specific card before I go ahead and adhere all the layers together. So I'm loving how that green looks. I think it's so pretty. But that journaling, that stitch journaling die cut, again, that's from Lawn Fawn, has the rounded corners. So I thought I'd go ahead and round the corners of this little green watercolored panel that we just created, just to tie in, to make it all just look a little bit, you know, more uniformed. Now I decided that the base of the card here had a little bit too much white on it. It was just too much white, and there wasn't a lot of white in that inspirational piece. So I've taken some, whoops, did you see what I just did? No, you didn't. You didn't see that. So I've taken some abandoned coral, smushed it onto an acrylic block, spritzed it with water, and then just flicked on some of that color, just to add a little bit more fun. Now this is some fun foam that you get from the foam store. I saw another crafter came up with this idea rather than putting a bunch of you know, little pieces of foam dimension on the back, and I thought this was brilliant. So I'm going to go ahead and use the fun foam to adhere that panel down. I wanted some dimension, but I wanted it to be uniform. I didn't want it all, you know, wonky and wavy. So I'm using some fun foam, and that gives it a nice consistent backing here for larger pieces like this. So I've got the same thing, the fun foam again on that little die cut panel there. Then I'm going to go ahead and adhere that over the top. But before I did, I wasn't happy, so I'm taking this as some Memento black mist, and I'm just kind of flicking it on with the tip. I use it this way rather than the mist because I feel like I have a little bit more control over where it goes. So I'm just using the little stick there instead. But you could totally mist it if you wanted to. So now I'm going to go ahead and kind of line that up, and I'm going to wait for that to dry before I press it all in. Don't press it right away, or it's, you know, it takes a few minutes to dry. So I'm giving this a good look, and I'm liking how it feels, but I still feel like that background is just too white. So I'm going back in with some of that abandoned coral just to bring in more of that coral color around the edges. I'm using our little round blending tool here. If you don't have this tool, you can try with your fingers, use a makeup sponge, use whatever you have if you don't have this particular tool. But I just wanted to kind of take some of that white away. So that's the card. I just love it. I love that inspiration piece. There's so much that you can do with it. And this card has a lot of dimension. I think it's just a lot of fun. So I'm going to give you one more shot of that inspiration piece, and then I hope that you will check out the Ellen Hudson Pin Sites Challenge. If you head on over to my blog at laurelbeard.org, I'll have a link that will take you right to the challenge, and you can play along for a chance to win 50 bucks to the Ellen Hudson store. Also, all of the supplies I used in the video today is linked below in my YouTube description and also over on my blog. So thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day.